Oh, and welcome back to the Uncrowned Podcast. So good to be back again. And I'm your host, Joby Cheese. Some of you may know me as JB Motivation. And I truly mean it when I say I missed you. It's been a minute, almost a year actually, since our last episode. If you're a long-time listener, thank you for sticking around and being patient. If you're new here, I'm excited you're joining us now. You picked the perfect time because we have a lot to catch up on. Today, I want to fill you in on what I've been up to during this break, why I chose to step away, and how God led me back with the mic with a renewed fire. I'll also be sharing powerful lessons I've learned during this season, lessons of purpose, faith, and not losing sight of what matters. By the end of this episode, I hope you feel inspired, recharged, and ready to walk this journey with me. We're also going to peek at some of the exciting things on the horizon. I'm working on a new book. It's called The Stoic Marine, and even planning a men's retreat to go along with it. I'll hint at that later on. Trust me, you want to hear more about it. Now, before we dive in, let me remind everyone, or if you're new, what the Uncrowned is all about. This podcast isn't just talk, it's a movement. It's empowering men to overcome life's battles, whether that's struggles with mental health, challenges in marriage and family, or just finding your purpose, and doing it through real, honest conversations with a faith driven approach. We'll keep it raw and impactful here because we know life isn't always sunshine and rainbows. In a world that often expects men to tough it out in silence, this is a safe space where vulnerability is actually strength and our faith is guiding. We're here to uplift each other and equip each other with tools to face life head on together. In short, we're building a community of uncrowned kings, men who reclaim their crown, not by the world's standards, but by living with purpose, resilience, and God led integrity. Sound good? All right. Take a deep breath, get comfortable. Let's jump into this catch up session, shall we? Where have I been? Caught in the grind. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Why haven't I recorded an episode in so long? What's been up with Joe for the past year? I want to be open about this because I believe there's a lesson in not just for me, but maybe for you too. No, it's not an excuse, but the answer's short. Life got busy. And I don't mean the fun kind of busy, I mean the overwhelming, every minute accounted for busy. I got pulled into a regular day job grind. Yep, I got a 9 to 5, kind of. Like many of you, bills still need to get paid, right? Every morning I wake up before dawn, hit my workouts if I open or if I close, it's after. More into bodybuilding and fitness, discipline that runs in my blood. And then I'll hustle through a full work day, give it my best energy. And by the time I got home in the evening, there was my most important relationship, my marriage, and needing and deserving my attention. My wife and I have been working on our marriage and growing together. And like any marriage, it takes intentional time and effort. And it has been easy, but it's been worth it. We have dinner, hear about our day, try to be mentally present, even though I was already drained. I'm not perfect though. By the end of the night, I was wiped out. Wash, rinse, repeat. I was juggling a career, bodybuilding, trying to be a good husband. These things by themselves are a blessing, don't get me wrong. And I'm grateful for my job and my health, kind of, but especially my wife. But in carrying all those responsibilities, I slowly let some things slide. My creative mission, this mission, the uncrowned, my calling to inspire and help others day after day. And I told myself to get back to making content next week or maybe next month. And when things calm down, and well, have you ever done that? Delayed something important to you, thinking you'll maybe have time later. If you have time, then you'll know later is a dangerous word because life never really calms down on its own. And to be honest with you, I fell into the state that I could only describe as motivated depression. And now I actually did a podcast episode on that concept once. And it's a real thing that many people experience. You're grinding every day, you look motivated on the outside, yet you feel like your will to keep going is gone. It's fading. Does this all resonate to you at all? Maybe from the outside, your friends or your coworkers see you handling business, you're making a living, taking care of your family. So they think you're doing great and you are handling it. But deep down, this is exhausting. It's emptiness. Like, man, what am I even doing this for? Is there all there is? That was me. Just checking the boxes, employee, bodybuilder, husband, staying motivated and disciplined, just out of habit. Yet I felt depressed because I wasn't fulfilling God's purpose on my heart. I wasn't feeding my creative soul. I wasn't using my voice to help others, which is something I know I'm called to do. And that gnawed at me. I remember nights where I'd sit on the couch after a long day, just scrolling mindlessly through social media, seeing other creators out there inspiring people, the very thing that I used to do. And I had this feeling, this heavy mix of emotions, happiness for them, but also envy, guilt, and a little bit of regret. I was happy because those messages I care about were still getting out there, even if it wasn't through me. But I was envious and guilty because I knew I had more to give and I wasn't. I'd hear the little voice in my head, and I believe it's God's voice. Though at a time, I might have tried to ignore it, whispering, "You're meant to do more. You're meant to be speaking. Why are you hiding? Why are you quiet?" And I really had no good excuse other than, "I'm busy, Lord. I'm tired. I'll get to it soon. I promise." Let me tell you, busy is one of the worst excuses when it comes to a calling. I learned the hard way. Yes, we all handle our responsibilities, absolutely. But if God put a calling on your life, He's not asking you to shelf it until a mythical free time appears. That calling is tugging at you. Even when you try to drown it with work and chores and ignoring it, well, it starts to eat away at your joy. And in my case, I was losing the spark. The longer I went without doing a podcast or creating motivational content, the more irritable and unhappy I became in other areas of my life. My wife noticed I was mentally distant. My workouts even suffered. I was lifting the same weights, but without the same passion. It was like a part of me was running on fumes. You ever felt that way? Like you're running on autopilot, doing all of the right things, but externally, but on the inside, you're a little dead or disconnected. Maybe you're nodding your head right now. Maybe you're even living that reality as you listen, but I want you to lean in here because what I'm about to say next is really for you. The biggest lesson I learned over the past couple months is God's wake up calling, finding my way back. So there I was going through the motions, feeling stuck, yet not making a change. But here's the beautiful thing: even when we put our purpose on the back burner, God doesn't forget about it. He'll always find ways to get our attention, sometimes gentle nudges, sometimes a good hard shake. In my case, I think I needed a little bit of both. I could be stubborn, as my fellow Marines out there can relate, and it's kind of in my blood. But over the last month or so, God basically hit me with the refresh button in my life. When I say He brought me back hard and He didn't tiptoe around it, it was like suddenly out of nowhere, opportunities and people started appearing in my path, exactly the kind that I needed. It almost felt a little miraculous, honestly. One example I had is an old friend reached out to me, someone I hadn't talked to in ages, and he told me he had been following the Uncrowned content from afar. He said, "Joe, when's the next episode, man? I miss him. You have no idea how your words have helped me through a tough time." And that hit me right in the chest. Because here I was thinking nobody would notice my podcast was gone, and yet here's someone is telling me that it mattered. On another occasion, I met a couple of people through church, through gym, believer, creative, people on fire for helping others, and their energy rubbed off on me. They didn't do anything magical, just conversations we had sparked ideas in my mind. And I'll go home after those chats and suddenly found myself jotting notes down for podcast topics or outline for chapters for my books. It's like a dry spell was ending. The ideas were raining down again, and God was essentially saying, "All right, you've had a breather or maybe a detour, but now it's time to get back to work." I even had what I call a God moment one morning when I was praying. And honestly, at that point, it was a little bit of a frustrated prayer. Something like, "Lord, I don't know if what I'm doing the right things right now. It feels like I'm spinning my wheels. What do you want me to do? I was pouring my heart out, maybe for the first time in a while, truly being still and listening. And I felt an answer in my spirit. I already told you what to do. You just haven't been doing it. Talk about conviction. It wasn't condemning, it was actually freeing because it was true. God had put a vision in me years ago to speak life into others, to build this uncrowned movement, and He never told me to stop. I just allowed myself to stop. And that realization kicked in when I needed it. It was like God was humbling me and reminding me in no uncertain terms, don't bury the talents I gave you. I might needed that humbling. Sometimes it takes God letting you hit a low point or a wall to see things clearly. And oh boy, did things become clear. From that day, my mindset shifted. Literally overnight, I went from feeling tired and sorry for myself to feeling excited again. I woke up the next day with a sense of purpose I haven't felt in months. I sat down and wrote out a plan. How could I balance my job, my marriage, and my calling? And I talked to my wife, and she was incredibly supportive. Shout out to her because she's awesome. We decided on some changes, made sure we had the space to create. Whether that's me waking up an hour early a couple of days a week before the gym or before work, or cutting out some needless screen time scrolling, or writing just to veg everything out. We made a little creation corner. We're in a studio, her photography studio, our little home office, but we now have an intentional space to work. The biggest change, though, was internal. It wasn't just me telling myself, no more excuses. God doesn't want my excuses. He wants my obedience. And if He's calling me to something, He also gave me the strength and the means to do it. But I have to choose to step into it. It is like I suddenly remembered why I started the Uncrowned in the first place. This is not just a hobby or something I feel to do when I feel like it. This is a part of my mission on earth. And you know what? As soon as I realigned with that, as soon as I said, yes, Lord, I'm all in again. I felt this rush of peace and joy, this looming cloud of gloom evaporated. It's amazing. The circumstances haven't changed yet, and I still have the same job and the same schedule, but my heart has changed. And when you're back in sync with God's will, you will get an energy and clarity that no amount of coffee or motivational quotes could ever give you, or energy drinks, because that's my vice. So here's the big takeaway I want to share from this season of my life. No matter how busy you get, do not let the busy become the idol that distracts you from God's calling on your life. Let me say that again for the both of us. Nothing, not work, not hobbies, not every worthy commitment should permanently bench the unique purpose that God gave you. If you are using your hectic schedule or your responsibilities as a reason to put off that calling, whether it's a ministry, a creative project, a business idea, whatever it is, I'm here to lovingly tell you to stop that. I'm saying it as a brother who did that exact thing and regretted it. And there's a way to honor your responsibilities and make room for your purpose. It might mean sacrificing some comfort, reprioritizing your day, asking for help, or even taking a leap of faith into the unknown. But it's worth it. And I'm figuring that out, because the cost of ignoring your calling is far greater than the cost of your joy and your passion and your ultimate impact on others. And if you are sitting there thinking, well, I don't really know what my calling is, so maybe this doesn't apply to me, let me challenge that. Deep down, most of us have something, that one thing that lights a fire in our soul, that cause or passion that we pursue. If life wasn't a certain way, if you truly don't have a clue, ask God and He'll reveal it in time. But chances are you have an idea. If you do know what that is, consider this podcast your wake up call too. And I'm just paying it forward, a wake up call that God gave me. No more waiting on the sidelines. Put God first. He'll help you seek out the rest. First, seek the kingdom of God and all His righteousness, and all things will be added unto you. Right? I had to flip that for a while. I've been seeking all these things, careers, etc. First, assuming I'd squeeze the kingdom in later. Wrong order. Lesson learned. All right. I know I'm getting fired up. I can feel it. JB rants. This is emotional and it's personal. And I truly want you to learn from my mistakes rather than making them all yourself. But take a breath, shift gears a bit, now that I told you where I've been and what I've changed, I want to talk to you about what the uncrowned means moving forward and how my direction with it has evolved, essentially what we stand for, and why I'm doubling down on a God first approach. So, what does the uncrowned stand for? Mission and faith. When I first started the Uncrowned podcast, I chose the name Uncrowned for a reason. We even used to say the Uncrowned King sometimes. Let me revisit that meaning because it is still the core of everything that we do. And I think it is going to resonate even deeper now in this faith centered era of the show. Being uncrowned is about being a king without needing a crown. It's about those of us, especially us men, who do what needs to be done in our lives without clamoring for applause or titles. Think about it. A lot of men out there, maybe you, maybe the guy next door, they get up every day, they handle their business quietly, they provide for their families, they support their friends, they fight their own private battles, and they don't get recognition for it. And you know what? That's not what they're looking for, not the recognition. We're not looking for extra validation or for someone to pat us on the back. Is it nice to be appreciated? Sure, of course. But at the end of the day, an uncrowned man doesn't depend on that. He gets the job done because it's responsibility and it is his honor to do so. In one of my past episodes, I phrase it like this: we are the uncrowned kings. We do not need a crown, but we are still kings because we walk accordingly. I love that imagery. The crown you never got, but you wear it well. It means you carry yourself with dignity, the integrity, and the perseverance of a king in your own realm, your family, your work, your community. Even if no one ever calls you a king or gives you a trophy, you might never get a literal crown placed on your head in this life, but you lead and serve anyway because that's what real kings do. That's what the uncrowned has always been about at its core: character over clout, doing what's right and necessary, even when no one sees, being a leader in your life and those around you without needing to boast about it. It is about humility, strength, and going hand in hand. So let me tell you that concept is more important now in a world where so much value is being placed on likes and getting noticed and being crowned as important by society. We say, nah, forget the crowns of the world. We serve a higher purpose, which brings me to my next point. As I return to this podcast, I'm bringing an even stronger faith based, God first perspective into it. If you listen to me before, you know I've never shied away from talking about faith. My relationship with God has always been a lifeline through my struggles with mental health, addiction, you name it. But I'll admit, sometimes I held back going fully into faith aspect on every episode because I thought I should keep it more genuinely, generally motivated for a broader audience. Not anymore. Truth is, strength as an uncrowned king comes from the King of Kings. I can't talk about personal growth or overcoming battles without talking about God because I wouldn't be where I am without Him, His grace, and His guidance. And I mean it. I hit rock bottom a couple of years ago, and some of you remember me sharing my battles with mental health, my substance abuse in early episodes where I lost everything at one point and had to rebuild my life from scratch. How did I do it? I got right with God and I leaned on Him step by step. And He humbled me, yeah, but He also uplifted me and put me in a solid path. I wouldn't even have a platform or the testimony if it wasn't for my relationship with Him. So moving forward, consider this an unapologetically faith driven podcast. That doesn't mean I'm here to preach at you or get overly religious in a way that turns people off. But what I mean is, I'll always point back to the bigger picture, the spiritual side of things. I'll talk about Jesus and about scripture and about trusting God because that's a foundation of everything for me now. I truly believe that there needs to be a foundation for all of us as we strive to be better men and better people. Without God, we're building on sand. With God, we build on rock. To my fellow men listening, I want the Uncrowned podcast to be a place where you feel understood and uplifted, a place where it's okay to admit that you're struggling, where you can drop the stoic mask for a second and be real. Remember what I said about vulnerability? Society may tell us to man up, to keep our issues to ourselves, but here we flip the script. Here, vulnerability is not weakness, it's strength. Being able to say, I'm not okay, or I need help, advice, or prayer, that's the stuff true courage is made of. We combine faith because we support each other and acknowledge that the ultimate help comes from God. Our motto is something like, do your part and trust God to do what you can't. There's balance between action and surrender. We talk about practical, actionable insights on this show. Absolutely things that you can do to improve your mental health, your relationship, your mindset, but all grounded in Christian faith and spiritual wisdom. That's what makes this podcast a little bit different from many other self improvement talk out there. We take it to a deeper level. And if this resonates with you, and if you're hearing this and thinking, man, this is exactly what I need, then you're in the right place. Welcome. And I encourage you to stick around and get involved in the community. Follow me on social media. We're going to get a bigger community started where the uncrowned men can encourage each other. And we are rebuilding and revamping, rebranding things. So your voice is welcome. If you're a wife, a mother, a sister listening, wondering how to support the men in your life, you are welcome too. The insights and conversations we have will benefit everybody. And I love having supportive women in tune because it offers a different perspective. Yes, my focus is reaching out to brothers and those who are fighting their battles in silence, but you don't have to do it alone. We're in this together, and God is right there with us. I'm getting fired up redefining this for us. It's like replanting our flag. The uncrowned stands for humility, strength, vulnerability, community, and faith. That's our DNA. And everything coming up next, the episodes, the book, the retreat, it all flows from that DNA. Speaking of which, let's talk about some exciting things I have on the horizon. I want to give you guys a sneak peek at what's coming so you can be just as excited as I am and hopefully more excited. So, introducing The Stoic Marine, the book I'm working on. One of the big projects I've been working on behind the scenes is something that actually started during my quiet period. It's writing a book. You heard that right. I'm writing a book. So, The Stoic Marine, let me tell you about it. Because it's not just any book to me, it is kind of pouring my life lessons into a manual that I hope will help a lot of people. So, why the Stoic Marine? Well, as some of you may know, I served in the Marine Corps, and once a Marine, always a Marine, right? That shaped that experience shaped me in profound ways. The discipline, the resilience, the understanding of sacrifice and brotherhood. I've also been deeply influenced by Stoic philosophy over the years. You know, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, those guys. Good guys. Stoicism is all about mastering yourself, focusing on what you control, enduring hardship with wisdom and virtue. When I think about my journey from a young, angry man that went through hell and back to a coach and a motivator trying to live with wisdom and faith, I see a lot of overlap with the Stoic ideas, plus my spiritual beliefs. So I meshed those concepts together in the title, The Stoic Marine. It just felt right. It's kind of catchy too. This book is basically going to be a tool belt of lessons and principles drawn from my own life experiences, what I've been through, and it's a lot. I faced enemies, internal and external, battled forms of depression, addiction, self doubt. I've built things up, I've watched them tear down, sometimes by my own hand. I've been the hero of my own story and a lot of times a villain, but through it all, God has been teaching me and sculpting me. Sometimes the lessons I learned the first time, I wish I did that more often, but many times I had to repeat the same mistake until, well, I finally got it. Again, stubborn. I bet many of you can relate. The Stoic Marine distills life lessons into something hopefully useful for you. Each chapter focuses on a theme: discipline, humility, brotherhood, forgiveness, perseverance. And I weaved in the stories of my life, both from military and civilian life, along with practical takeaways. And of course, all pinned under my faith. I don't shy away from saying God's word, God's grace influenced each lesson. In fact, the moral of the entire book, if I had to sum it up in one line, is the greatest enemy a man will ever face is the one in the mirror. That is a reoccurring theme, and every chapter in some way will tie back to that idea that you are often your own biggest obstacle, your ego, your fears, your doubts, your temptations. Sure, life throws external challenges at us, but we have to overcome those too. But the fight on the inside of ourselves is the one that determines everything else. So if you can conquer that guy staring back at you in the mirror, you can handle any external thing coming your way. Controversially, if you don't address the internal battles, it almost doesn't matter what happens on the outside you think you can fix. You'll find a way to self sabotage it or limit yourself. Let's unpack that a bit because it's something I'm truly passionate about. When I say the enemy in the mirror, what kinds of things am I talking about? I'm talking about the negative self talk that tells you you're not good enough or that you'll fail. I'm talking about the pride that stops you from admitting you need help or apologizing when you're wrong. I'm talking about the fear of failure, the fear of rejection that keeps you from trying something that could be amazing. I'm talking about the laziness and the comfort that you lull into, staying the same when you know you need to grow. I'm talking about the past traumas that you haven't confronted that bleed out in how you treat people. All the internal stuff. That's the real battleground. And guess what? Most of the time, the only person standing in the way of your own growth is you. In the military, we train face to face against an enemy in the field. But if you don't train face to face with the enemy in the mirror, you'll lose the war before it even starts. Now, here's the hopeful part: with God's help, with deliberate effort, you can defeat the inner enemy. And I don't mean eliminate forever. We're human, we're always going to have internal struggles, but you can get to a place where you can rule over your inner demons instead of letting them rule over you. That is the part. That is the impactful part of the Stoic Marine. Not just the stories, the motivational quotes, it's a battle plan for the soul. It's like me handing you a toolkit saying, these are the tools that saved my life, that forged my chapter. I think they can help with yours. One of the key lessons of the book is about failure and the mindset we adopt towards it. For a long time, I realized I and many men that I know twisted have a twisted relationship with failure. See, if this sounds familiar, sometimes we avoid getting all in or taking big risks just because we fear failing, not be or because we're not trying at all gives us a weird comfort. If you never try, you'll never technically fail, right? You could always live in the hypothetical land of, oh, I could have done that. I choose not to. It's a sort of a victim mentality or safety net. You can blame circumstances, timing, rather than putting it on yourself on the line. But that mindset will keep you small. You know, it kept me small for a while. Actually, it's one of my enemy's favorite tricks. Keep good men inactive by convincing them it's safer not to try. Don't fall for it. I had to wake up for the fact that failing or not failing was the biggest issue. The biggest issue was that not by trying, I was staying stuck, or even worse, I wasn't being obedient to what God wanted me to do. I was protecting my ego at all costs of my purpose. Maybe you're doing the same thing in some area of your life. It's worth reflecting on. The truth is, our greatest victories are often the ones on the other side of our fears. Think about any hero story. The hero has to face the dragon, go into the unknown, risk their life, etc., just to get the treasure or to save the day. If they stayed at home because it was safe, the story would be a tragedy, or at least a really boring one. In real life, trusting God means sometimes stepping out without a guarantee of success, but with the trust that He's with you no matter what. And even when you stumble, He will use it to help you grow. One of my favorite ideas, and probably the cover for the book, is in God's economy, nothing is wasted, not even our failures. He will turn lessons into fuel and even future ministry opportunities to help others. And I can attest to that. My past failures and pain have become the very stories and lessons that help me connect with and coach other men going through similar things. God comforts us in all our troubles so that we may comfort those in any trouble with the comfort that we ourselves receive from God. it says in 2 Corinthians. Now that is real. So the Stoic Marine is going to dive deep into all that. It is emotional and honest, and I pray that it will be powerful. Writing it has been an emotional journey for me too. I've had moments typing away at night with tears in my eyes, just seeing how far God has brought me. And it was reminding me of the scars I hold. But those scars and stories still serve a purpose. But I won't spoil too much. Plus, I'm still writing and editing and refining as we speak. But I wanted you guys to be the first to know what's coming. Consider this an official teaser. More to come on that soon, as they say now. Now, here's the cool extra part. I'm not just writing a book and leaving it at that. I want to take it a step further, which leads me to something else in the works. It's going to be a men's retreat that will coincide with the launch of the book. So, this upcoming men's retreat is about brotherhood and breakthrough. Yes, you heard it right. We're planning an uncrowned men's retreat to go hand in hand with the Stoic Marine book launch. This is something I've dreamed about for a while, and I've had a lot of people ask me way back when about retreats and events, and it's finally all coming together slowly but surely. So let me paint a picture of what I have in mind because I am really stoked about this, and I think a lot of you guys will be too. Imagine a long weekend with a bunch of us guys who have connected through this uncrowned movement or really want to just grow, get together in person, away from the daily grind. Maybe it's a campsite somewhere by the water, out in nature. I'm a big believer in getting out of your comfort zone and environment, especially when it comes to being by the ocean or water. But over the course of a few days, we will dig into the lessons of the Stoic Marine in real life. We're not just reading and nodding, we're experiencing and applying. We'll have workshops and sessions where we talk about facing the man in the mirror. And we won't just talk conceptually, we'll actually confront our own issues right then and there with support. For instance, if one of the sessions is about overcoming fear, then maybe we have a challenge. It could be a physical one, like a tough hike or an obstacle course, something that pushes you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Physical challenge always has a way of helping you open up mentally and spiritually, especially when you do it with others around. Don't worry, it's not going to be like a military boot camp. You won't have to do endless amounts of push ups, although that does sound like fun. The idea is to face the challenges together and realize together that we are more capable than we thought. Another session might be about breaking the victim mindset, taking ownership of our lives. For that, we might do a reflective exercise or even some one on one hot seat coaching where we'll help identify blind spots. We'll incorporate times of prayer and worship. And since this is a God first thing, to ground us and invite the Holy Spirit to do heart surgery where it's needed. I also envision having some guest speakers or facilitators, just pastors or other mentors that I've come to know to help pour into us. Brotherhood will be the big theme. And that's where I was at my lowest. It was my brothers around me and well, my wife, of course, that have helped me pull through. We men sometimes have a bad habit of isolating ourselves. I'm fine, I can handle it. But isolation is where the enemy works over us. At this retreat, I want everyone to experience genuine brotherhood, where you can drop the act, be real about your struggles, and find that you are not judged, but rather supported. We'll laugh, I'm sure. It's a bunch of guys getting together. What do you expect? But we might cry too. Maybe. We'll see. But that's okay. We'll definitely pray. We'll fight some battles in prayer. But we'll come out of the other side stronger and a better sense of who we are and who God is and what to do with our next steps in our destiny. Think about it like a spiritual boot camp with a mix of a leadership seminar mixed with a camping trip with your best buds. Maybe some whiskey and cigars too. That sound about right. Honestly, I get chills just thinking about it. The vision is like right there. And I just want to bring everything together. Now I'll be transparent. This retreat is still in the works. I'm still working out the kinks and details. I don't have an official sign up page yet or specific dates locked in. This is me just kind of sharing my heart and my plans where they currently stand. My goal is to have it ready to go with conjunction of the book release. So as I finalize the manuscript, I'm also scouting locations, brainstorming agendas, and reaching. I wanted to mention because A, I'm super excited and I didn't want to keep it to myself. B, I want you to start thinking about something that you could do and be a part of. And maybe you're already like, heck, yes, sign me up. I need that. If so, awesome. Keep an ear out because I'll be sharing all the details as soon as I get them. Or maybe you're intrigued but on the fence, and that's okay too. We'll have plenty of info so you can decide if it's for you. But I promise though, if you come with an open mind and a willing heart, you will not leave the same person you came. My prayer is that every man who attends will have at least one breakthrough, whether it's a chain of a past hurt finally broken, a new direction rediscovered, a bad habit overcome, or even a new brotherly friendship is founded. Ideally, all the above. That's the standard I'm aiming for. So, more to come on the retreat soon. Make sure to follow me on social media: Instagram, TikTok, Joe Batiste3, the Uncrowned Podcast, JB Motivation. Subscribe to our email list, stayinwith.me/JB Motivation. Once all the details are said, that'll get sent out. But if you're someone who has experience with events or retreats and you feel a tug and want to join me on this mission, shoot me a message. I'd love to work together. So, a personal message to you. Subscribe for what's next, obviously. But as we come to the end of this episode, I want to speak directly to you, the person on the other end listening right now. We've covered a lot of ground here. My struggles, my comeback, what the Uncrowned stands for, and the new projects on the way. But what matters to me the most is how you relate to it. I don't know your name or your face, but I feel a connection to you in this moment. Because if you're listening this far, we're really sharing something real. Maybe you saw yourself in parts of my story, or maybe you've been that man or woman or stuck in that routine, slowly losing touch with what makes you feel alive. Maybe you've been putting God on hold, saying later to Him, like I was. And if that's you, I want you to know that you're not alone. And it's not too late to turn back around like I did. And you can too. No matter how far you think you've drifted, how long you have been checked out, the moment you decide to realign with God's purpose, that is the moment things start to change. It might start deep inside as a simple yes, but it will ripple outward and you'll see the fruit of it. I promise you, and God honors that. Yes, He's been waiting a long time for you to say it. Or maybe you're listening and you're on fire already. You're in a great place and you're just excited that the podcast is back. And if that's you, awesome. I'm glad you're doing well. Maybe you can be a part of the people God uses as an opportunity or a person in someone else's life to help their spark come back. Keep shining. Remember to reach out to those who might be quietly struggling. There might be an uncrowned king in your life who needs a brother to say, hey man, how are you really doing? And sometimes that's all it takes to start the healing process. But I want to leave you with a powerful message to chew on. You are an uncrowned king in the making. What do I mean? I mean, you have inherited worth and purpose given by God. You might not have a literal crown. The world might recognize your royalty, but in God's eyes, you are His child, a prince of the kingdom, and He put you on this earth at this time for a reason. Your struggles, your victories, your quirks, your talents, all of it are part of a larger story. So don't buy into that lie of you're just average or that your life is meant to be small. You were born to rise above. This is the whole uncrowned movement, is about rising above the challenges and claiming the life of the meaning and service we were created for. So whatever's been holding you down, whether it's depression or fear or the negative voices in your past, I want you to make that decision today to start letting that go. Face the enemy in the mirror with courage and say, enough. I'm not going to sabotage myself anymore or hide from God. I'm trusting you and I'm moving forward. One practical thing. I encourage you, 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes after this episode, take a minute to pray, journal, Identify one area of your life you know you've been avoiding just out of fear or busyness. Just one area. Write it down. And then write down one action step you can take this week to step towards that calling or goal. It could be as simple as calling someone or signing up for a class or waking up early to pray or anything that breaks the inertia and just do it. Do it. And feel free to message me the steps that you're taking. I'd love to cheer you on and hold you accountable. That's what helps. We're a community. But all right, I'm about to wrap it up. But before I do, I want to express my deep gratitude. Thank you for listening to my heart today. Thank you for giving me your time and your attention. I don't take that lightly because I know it's been a long time. I hope it's something in my story, something in my rambling sparks in you. And I know this episode was part of a recap or a sermon or a sneak peek promo. It was a little bit of everything, but hey, I had a year's worth of stuff pent up and I wanted to share. So I really feel like this is the start of a new chapter for the Uncrowned podcast in our community. And I'm envisioning consistent episodes again and maybe some guest speakers or interviews down the line. Definitely more interaction with all y'all. The creative juices are back, and all glory to God for that. So please, if you found value in this episode or you're excited that we're back, please do me a favor. Share this podcast with a friend who might need it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Subscribe especially because in the episodes to come, I will be dropping more info on the Stoic Marine process, launch dates, the retreat once it's finalized. Trust me, there's going to be a ton of good stuff going your way, and I don't want you to miss out. Plus, your subscription and your sharing really helps us build our audience back. I lost a lot of momentum during the hiatus. So every little bit counts, and I appreciate it as we build this back up. If you're on a platform where you can leave a review or a rating, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I'd love it if you did too. It helps more people find the show. And if you feel like it's earned, I'm not about fake hype or fake honesty, or more honesty means more to me than that. Finally, I'd like to speak a blessing over to you. My prayers for God to stir up gifts and purpose inside of you, that whatever chains have been holding you down, seen or unseen, down it would break in Jesus' name. That you have the courage to face yourself and the faith to step into whatever God is calling you to. You've heard how he turned me around. Now I know he could do it for you 100 times over. And I'm excited to walk this road together, learning and growing as fellow uncrowned souls. Thank you again for being here with me. I genuinely love and care about this community in my core. Remember who you are. Keep that head up. Straighten your back. Step forward like the king you are. Even if there's no crown on your head, you carry yourself like there is. Because you serve the one that wears many crowns and he's got your back. As I sign off, I'll leave you with the phrase that I've come to love over the years. Stay positive, stay motivated, stay uncrowned. God bless you all, and I'll catch you on the next episode.